Hello friends, welcome once again to this SQL tutorial for data analysis and software development for absolute beginners. In the previous part we saw how we can install MySQL in our computer using XAMPP, and I also demonstrated how you can create a database and how you can create a table without writing any query. In this part we will create a database, and inside that database I will create a simple table using query. So make sure that your XAMPP control panel is running, and in your XAMPP control panel these two modules Apache and MySQL are running. You will find your XAMPP control panel in C drive XAMPP. If you are on other operating systems, then wherever you have installed XAMPP you will see XAMPP control panel. Now once XAMPP control panel is running, you can do one thing. You can click on this admin button here, and XAMPP will take you to the default PHP MyAdmin window. This is the database explorer using which we can create, manage and access databases. So currently we are inside a server and we are not inside any database. To make sure, let's click a database. Now we are inside a database. If you will click a table, so now you are inside this table, and now whatever SQL you will write, so using this SQL tab here we can write our queries here. So by default select star from table is school where one, it is written here. I will explain about this. Click on server. Now our task is to let's take our task. Our task is to create a database using SQL query, SQL or SQL query. Then we will create a table inside that database using query. So now let's go to PHP MyAdmin. Make sure only you are seeing this server here. Now click on SQL. The first command to create a database is create database. So you have to write create database because we want to create a database, and then in this left inverted comma you have to write your name of your database. For example, name of our database is DB let's say Superstore. So let's say the name of our database is DB Superstore. We can include underscore here also. So DB underscore super underscore store. So this is the name of our database. I will save this query here so that I will share these queries with you in the description, so that you can copy these queries and paste it in your SQL to create the database. Now I am saving this text file, and I am saving this text file as let's say chapter 1, or let's say create commands. So this will be your create commands. Now we have written create database and name of database. There are two options here. You can write it this way also, create database DB underscore super underscore, or you can write it in using the left inverted commas, which this particular inverted comma you can apply it using the key that is just below escape key in our keyboard. So the key between tab and escape. So you can put this left inverted comma, and now simply click on go. So now you can see a database is created. So the name of database is db_super_score, and now once this database is created, we can click on this database, and now in our server we are inside this particular database. Now when I will click SQL, so all the queries will be executed in this particular database itself. Now it's the time to create a table. So in our superstore, let's say the first table is the name of first table is, let's say, categories. So, and let's give it a name of item categories. So item categories like electronics, beverages, then there can be poultry, dairy products. So in a superstore there can be products of these categories like home, furniture, decorative items. So our table will store the information about category of these products. So the basic command to create a table is create, then you have to write table. So while creating a database, we have to write create database, and then we have to give the name of our database. And while creating a table, we have to write create table, and then we have to give the name of the table. So let's say name of our table is TBL item_categories, or we can let's name it simply categories. So the name of our table in this case is categories. Now you have to create round bracket here, because now we must add some columns in our table. So we discussed it earlier also, a database in a data table. So let's see an example of data table here. So in our data table we have columns, and in these columns values are inserted. So now the first column will be category ID. So let's say category_ID. This will be the name of our first column, category_ID. And so what I have done now is I have saved my text file as .sql. So I am showing it once again. Let me copy this. So this is a new text file in Notepad++, and you can write it in Notepad also. So but we are writing it inside Notepad++. You can take any text editor, like you can take Sublime Text, Visual Studio Code. There can be any code editor that you can take. I suggest you to download Notepad++. It's a free software, so you can write SQL queries here also. So in Notepad++, what you have to do is save your Notepad++ file as, so let's say create one.sql. So I am writing .sql here, and now my file will be saved as a SQL file. And now you will see the color of queries are changed, because we will get some suggestions from Notepad++. It has detected that the language we are using is SQL. In SQL, if you have to comment any particular line, so you can write 2 hyphens here. So 1 hyphen will not do it. Write 2 hyphens, and now this line will be commented. Meaning of comment is this line will not be executed. Then again, so whatever instructions I have to give, so I can write those instructions in a comment. So create a database using SQL query, create table inside that database using query. These are instructions to the students or instructions to the user who will use this SQL file. So I will also show you how we can import a SQL file to create database and create tables. But now our task is to simply write some queries so that we can create a database and create a table. So now create table categories, and now the name of our first column is going to be category underscore ID. The data type of this category ID will be integer, which stands for integer, because let's say there are 20 categories. So we have products of 20 categories. So go to any website, like go to website like Amazon or eBay, and there you will see that products, every product has some category. Like electronics is a category. So let's take some examples, like electronics is a category, home and furniture is a category, books is a category. So there can be a superstore, or there can be a shop which sells products of electronics, home and furniture, books, etc. So that's why we are creating this table category in a database called database superstore. So let's say there are 20 categories. So we write 20. So select whatever maximum number of categories will be there. So let's say there will be a maximum of 20 categories. So in 20 there are 2 characters. So it is an integer of 2 characters, you can say. First character is 2, second character is 0. So if you will write 2 inside int, that means you want to create a column with which will have a length of 2. So inside this bracket we write the length or the number of characters that will be there, the maximum number of characters that can be there. So 2 will actually take 99 values, because after 99 there is 100 and it will have 3. This will be a value of 3 characters, so we can have 99 values there. And I think that this is sufficient number of characters for our category ID. The category ID will be int. It will not be a null value, so it will not have empty or null values. It will be auto increment. And it will be a primary key as well. So now our category ID will be, this particular column will have integer values of length 2, and this value cannot be null. It is going to be an auto increment value. That means the first category will have a category ID of 1. So first category will have a category ID of 1, then second category will have 2, 3. So this is auto increment, and we don't have to write, or we don't have to insert this. This will be inserted automatically. So this will be our first column, and our second column will be the name of category itself. So category underscore name. Again it will be a varchar value. Varchar value is used for strings. So we can have a numeric value or a string value. In a string value we have alphabets, numbers and special characters. So in a string value we can have alphabets, numbers and special characters, and the name of category will be written with mostly alphabets, and that's why we are taking varchar here. So let's say what will be the a number of characters for writing name of category. For example, home and furniture. In home there are 4 characters. Then we have to count this space also, then these special characters also. So in home and furniture you can see we have special characters as well as alphabets. So let's say the maximum value in a category name will be 100. So the category name will be of maximum 100 characters. This will also be not null. Again, not null, it can be empty but it cannot be null, and we will discuss about null, difference between null and empty values in later parts, but we simply have to write not null here. Then let's say category description. So category underscore DESC, which is short for category description. Again, description will be larger than the name of this category. So let's say we can have a description of about 500 characters. It will also be not null. So we'll have these 3 columns in our category table, and this category table will be inside this database. So now I am going to copy this query here, and after copying this query you have to go to your database. So I have selected this database here, and now go to SQL, and you can write or paste your SQL query here. And remember one thing, after the third column I have not used a comma here. So inside your round brackets we are actually writing the number of columns are separated by comma here, and because there is no column after the third column, so I am not writing a comma here. If you will write a comma, then you will see that a symbol name was expected. So that means another value or another column name was expected here. So let's say, what if we add another column created, let's say created on, means on which date this category was added in this particular table. Let's say it will be a value of again let's say varchar, and let's say, or it can be a value of date. So I will explain, I will do a particular chapter about date time. So for now I am ignoring this, and for now I am keeping things simple and just creating a table with 3 columns. First column is ID, which is primary key, it is auto increment. Second table or second column inside this table is the name of category, and third is the category description. So we are trying to create a database for a superstore, and that's it for this table. And then we can click go. If you have not received any error here, that means your table is created and good. You have learned how to create a simple category or how to create a simple table in your database. If you know the name of column, in what type of data will come inside that column, so you can write this type of query. And we have discussed 2 methods here. So in the previous part I discussed a method using this UI here. So using this UI of PHP MyAdmin, you can create tables. You have to write name of columns here, then you have to select the data type. The most common data types are int, varchar, text and date. Then here you have to write length values, default values. I will also discuss about default values here. So now you can see our table is created, and this is second example where we have learned how we can create a table using SQL query. I will explain this query once more. So you use create database, then name of your database, and inside that database create table categories, and inside your categories table, first column will be category ID, second column will be category name, third column will be category description. Again, how we can decide what columns will be there? Again, everything can be decided by discussing it with the requirement of the client, or you can do your research also and do some research and see some examples, or see what type of values will be needed for understanding about categories, item categories inside a superstore. So let's try to write another query here that will make things more clear to you. Let's try to create a table for let's say customers. So create table. Again, when I am writing these things, create table, that means I want to create a table. I am writing it in capital letters. You can write it in small letters also. So let me show you an example with small letters here. Create table, and this time the name of tables will be customers. Again, you have to write round bracket here, and whatever columns that will be added inside this customer tables will be written inside this round bracket, comma separated values. Let's say again we are following the same principle. The first column of every table is an ID. So in this case it will be simply customer ID. Whenever a new customer will be entered, so this customer ID will be automatically generated, and it can be something like 1 2 3 4. We can also create a customer ID which is unique ID, so we can create it with alphanumeric values also. So I will explain you about that also. And customer ID int, again how many customers will be there? So let's say there will be 1 lakh customers, or there can be more than million customers. So we can write something like 10 here. So 10 means we can have a maximum value of 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So we can have these many values here. So that's why I am writing 10 here. So customer ID 10, not null, auto increment, primary key. So customer ID will be our primary key. Then customer name, it will be varchar. Again, let's say the name of customer will be of maximum 50 characters. It will be not null. Then let's say customer phone. Again, let's say we are going to take varchar values here. That means phone number can be entered in this format, +91. So something like this. So that's why we are taking varchar value here. If you want to take phone number in this particular format, that means you want only integer values. So you can write a big int here. You can write big int here because integer value of 10 characters will be in big int. We are writing varchar here. Let's say 15 characters, not null. Again, using server-side scripting languages like PHP and Python, we can convert these values to any suitable data type. if you want them for mathematical operations. So we should not worry too much about this. So customer phone, and let's say we'll have another column here, customer email. So you can see I am writing customer here and phone, email, name. So by just viewing these columns, I will be able to understand that this is name of a column which belongs to customer table. Same thing I have followed to this in this category also. So customer email, and let's say it will be varchar value of 50 characters. Again, it will also be not null. You can write text here also, but I am writing these varchar here. I am showing you examples with varchar. And now this customer create table is created. Now you can copy this, and I am going to show you one more thing here. Let's say I am not inside any particular database here, so I am in my server here. When I'll go to SQL, so it is showing us run SQL queries or query on your server. So I have to run a query on my server. So I can write a command here that is called using, and then you have to write the name of your database. So let's say db underscore super underscore store. So you can see unrecognized statement near using. So we have to use this database. So use this particular database, and now because we have to run more than one queries here, so we can write a semicolon here. After writing semicolon, you can write another query and then write semicolon again. So now we have two queries, and remember this query here is actually or can actually be written in one line. So this query here can be written in one line, but for the sake of better readability, we don't write it in one line, we write it in 3 or 4 lines depending upon how many columns we have. So now we have two queries here. We are inside our server. We are instructing SQL to use the DB superstore and then create table customers, but inside that DB superstore. Otherwise it will not understand in which particular database we have to create this table. And if you have to create a table, you have to specify very particularly that which database you want to use. Now click go. You can see we have not received any error here. MySQL has executed these two queries, and let's say now you can see that in our DB superstore categories table is created, and we can refresh it. Now you can see customers table is also created here. So this is how you can create any number of tables inside our database by using queries. Now I want to show you one more thing. After selecting any particular table, go to structure, and you will see that in front of this customer ID a golden key is created, and this key is actually this primary key here. So now you can see by simply writing your commands, you can create primary keys, you can create columns that are that can be auto incremented. In the next part, I will explain you how we can insert data inside these tables, and how we can insert data inside these tables without writing any SQL command, and then I will show you how you can insert data inside these tables by writing SQL command. So in the beginning our course will be like first I will show you, we have already discussed about creating database and table without queries. So without writing any queries, we have discussed about creating database, and we have also discussed about creating database and table with queries. Now in the next part our task will be to insert data without query, and the next task will be to insert data with query. So thanks for watching this video. In the next part we'll discuss about creating database and table. We'll discuss about inserting data without query, this part here.